Okay, so you are now on a roll, because the trickiest part is always that joining the first number 1 to the number 2, and once you've got those secure, you then follow the numbers up, however many there are and however complicated the piece is. You're on a roll now. You're going from number 2 to number 3, and then number 3 to number 4, etc, etc. So the next step is we're back to folding. So we're bringing in our piece of card and we're going across the line and we're folding the paper back like that. What we're then doing is trimming away the excess. So it's fold and then trim. 1/4 inch ruler. Now, as you can see, I've actually got 2 layers of fabric here now that I'm trimming away. Trim. And then we're looking next for what is the fabric for number 3. So I know that it's this lovely light colour here, and I know that I've got to cover this shape and that it's on an angle. So I'm going to be very generous and give myself a big piece of fabric, and then I'm going to flip this over, line that up with what I've just trimmed. I can check against the light that if that is then folded back and when it's stitched, that it's going to cover that area. And obviously if you've got difficult angles to work with, that's why having more fabric is useful. It might work better if I flip the fabric around and go. You see, that way is going to be worse, so I'm going to go back to the original plan there, and I'm going to position that together and then go to the sewing machine and now stitch this line. Undoubtedly, you will occasionally get your angles wrong or misjudge the coverage that you need. As you can see here, I've sewn this on and I haven't quite got the angle right, because when I look through the light I can see that I'm not quite catching this corner here of L, and that's obviously then going to have an effect as I join on the next piece. Don't panic when this happens. All you need to do is get a quick unpick and go in and remove the stitches. If you're worried that the paper is going to start to come apart or perforate, just put a little bit of sellotape over the top and then stitch through it. It might stick your needle up a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. And be really vigilant to just keep checking that you are always covering your lines as you go, because if you've got a more complicated shape with lots of numbers and you've gone wrong at number 2 and you're now on number 9, you're going to have to work backwards to correct it. When your shapes that you are foundation piecing become a little bit more complicated here, you go with the line that is the next number. So here I've started, as always, between Q1 and Q2. The next line that I sew is between Q1 and Q3, but basically just think, okay, go now to number 3. And then next to number 4, because that's the order of construction to get the overlaps in the right order. And also where you have a seam that crosses, so because we're telling you to do this overstitch of 1/4 inch, when I next come to sew this line, Q5, what you do is when you fold in the paper back, you pop your card in and you simply peel those stitches back before you cut, so they just come away easily, and then you move on to the next section.